Hi, this is a quick video to help get you started with the 3CX phone system. Now, depending on the version of apps that you're using with the system, your screens might differ slightly to mine. So I'll say that up front now because I'm still using the older style apps because I'm familiar with them and I know where everything is. Now, the 3CX phone system is completely cloud-based, which is why you're able to have the app on your mobile, on your desktop, on your Mac, Windows, on a desk phone, etc. And they all work in sync with one another. So, for instance, if you've got the app running at the same time as you've got a desk phone, the likelihood is you'll hear them both ringing at the same time, unless you, of course, close the app. If you put your phone on Do Not Disturb, your desk phone on Do Not Disturb, that basically puts your total environment on Do Not Disturb. So you haven't got to go through 3 or 4 different devices to put yourself on Do Not Disturb. So what I'm going to do now is just share my screen and show you what the 3CX welcome email looks like that you should receive when you first get added to the phone system. Now, depending on what sort of status you've been given by your manager, whether you're a reception or a standard user or a manager, that will dictate some of the options that you get within the email. But the most important one to look out for is essentially getting your apps set up. Excuse me. So here you'll see set up the 3CX apps. So you've got a link for Mac, you've got a link for Android, and we've got a link for Windows. And you've also got a link for the desktop app. So these basically will allow you to set your mobile phone up with the extension, let you set your computer up with the apps so that you can use them in conjunction or separately or individually. So these links are really important and they will be your first port of call in getting you set up. And quite simply, when you do go through the setup, it walks you through and you'll get a QR code to scan with your mobile phone, and that will enable you to add the account into the 3CX app once you've downloaded the app onto your phone. So it's just a two-stage process. You'll either go to your Apple Store or you'll go to Android Play, Google Play. You'll download the 3CX app. Once you've got the 3CX app downloaded into your phone, you'll then go into add an account. And by using this email, that will present on your computer screen a QR code that you simply point your phone to, and then the account will be set up in your phone. From that point onwards, you're able to make and receive calls. Now, making and receiving calls will really depend on whether your company has outgoing calls or whether it's opted to just have incoming calls. That's something that, again, you should really speak to your manager about when you're being onboarded into your new role. Now, one of the things that people do seem to mention is the ability on the mobile app, hopefully you can see my screen, to transfer calls. So when you're in the middle of a call, you've got various options, and here you'll see it's grayed out at the moment, but there's a transfer button. So you can either transfer to another extension and just let it go, or you can transfer, dial the extension, speak to the person to tell them who you've got on the phone, and they can either say, yes, I want the call or not, and then you release the call to them. So the transfer button enables you to essentially transfer. Attended, as I say, allows you to speak to the person, tell them, announce who it's going to be, for them to say, yes, I want the call. So that's a really important button. While you're in a call, you can also use the conference to add others to the call. So you can create a conference call on the fly while you're in the middle of a phone call. So if 2 or 3 of you want to have a chat together, or you need to bring someone else in to confer or run something by them, you can simply conference, put in their extension, that will ring them, and then they should be able to join the call. And this is a really useful link that I find helps people understand more of the system and what they're able to do with it. Because obviously, if I try to go through every single option, it's either going to just blur and be over the top, and you just won't use most of it. So I will add this link onto the sheet, and you can look at it at your own leisure. There's a nice little section here with regards to transferring and the difference between transfer and blind or the attended, as I just discussed with you. And you also have the option to join, create conference calls, and add video as well. So there's some great features that you know are too lengthy to go into every single one of them. But for those that love Google, you can make Google Assistant calls as well through the system. It talks about scheduling. I'm going to demonstrate to you how I schedule video calls anyway and invite people to them. And I've talked a little bit briefly about the transfer function and the conference function when you're using the app. But this goes into a little more detail of how-tos. This is a really great function that I do use, and each and every single user has the ability to customize how the phone system behaves when you're in different modes. And you would generally access this through the web app, which again, the web app link will be the link that you receive in your welcome email. So I do suggest you go and log into that and have a look around, because you have the ability to change what the system does when you're in various statuses. So rather than just putting yourself on do not disturb every time, if you're away, or if you're in a business trip, or if you're on lunch, you can actually select those statuses so that people trying to get hold of you will actually get the right response. So if you're on lunch, you might want to receive an email. If you're away on holiday, you might want the system to forward to somebody else. If you're on a business trip, again, you might want the call to go to voicemail because you could be just traveling. So there are different options. And if you think about the phone system as your own personal receptionist, then you have the ability to have voicemails emailed to you. You have the ability to divert your incoming calls to another person, extension, or group of people even. So think about how you'd want the system to behave if you're not able to take that call, and set those customizations up depending on how you want the system to work for you. So that's a very, very powerful tool. And I think, you know, when used effectively, that can really increase your efficiency. Again, these screens are looking at the brand new app, whereas what I'll be using to show you in principle how I go about doing things will be based on the older app, but essentially you can find the same functionality. Okay, so I will be sharing this link, which you can look at your leisure and see how to do certain things. So now I'm going to move on to how I use the desktop app in Windows, call it a widget, an app, whichever you like, and some of the functions there. So here's where I was talking about my desktop apps. We've got all of the internal people here, and you can see the various status that they're in. Green means they're online and they're available to take calls, etc., etc. If I go through in order, that gives you the status. I could type into this box a particular person's extension, and literally my Deskphone would dial them, or I can go into their actual user and initiate different types of communications with that particular person. We also use an address book. Again, if this is something that your company has elected for us to set up for you, you will be able to see whatever database you provided, all of those calls will be in there. The beauty of that is an incoming call will be announced to you, so you'll be able to see on your phone who's actually calling you because it references back to this database. Again, you can highlight someone, double click on them, and it will call that person straight away. So it's really useful tool when it comes to using it with a desk phone and your computer. It will all work in synchronization. So it's far less dialing on the desktop, on the desk phone, because you're using the app to do all of your dialing for you. In the app, you can see calls made, incoming, outgoing, calls that you've missed, or not managed to actually pick up an answer, and it just gives you that full history of what calls have been going in and out for yourself. Voicemail, I tend to use all voicemails going to my email, and that's how we will have set it up for you as well. So essentially, by default, any voicemails that are left for you will be emailed into your email account. So I've got none at the moment, so it's all empty. Starting a 3CX conference. Well, I'm actually using the conference calling now to actually to make this video, so I won't click that now because it will start off a whole new thing. However, what I do want to show you, if I drag my screen back, is this URL here. Now, this URL that I've just highlighted is unique to me, and each one of you will have your own unique URL, and it never changes. So you can share that with people and say, literally, copy and paste that into your browser, and we can connect. It's up to you how you strategize when and how people do that on the fly, if that's something you want. But it is quite a handy feature, because if you've got that copied somewhere or in a notepad on your desktop, you can literally copy that, stick it in an email it to someone, say, right, join me now. Especially if you want to have a quick chat with a candidate and you want to video call them on the fly, you can simply do that. Or, of course, you can just use the widget app and click on start a conference call now, and then basically invite them through the system or copy and paste the same link. Scheduling conference calls is done by using the conference call scheduler. So essentially, if you wanted to do a video call and set that up, you'd make sure you're on the video section rather than just an audio call. You'd give it a subject. If you wanted to make notes, you could. You can actually now decide how you want to invite them. So 365, Office Online, Desktop Outlook, or Email Legacy. I tend to use Email Legacy, because what that does is that sends the person an invitation, and it also then allows them, once they've accepted the invite, you can then get it, you then see that as an accepted invite in your Outlook as well. So that's the one I tend to use, and it allows me to then put in someone's email address. And there we go. So I click on that, and they're added. So they're now added as a recipient. And then the beauty of this bit is you can then schedule it. So I'm going to schedule it for, by clicking on the diary, I'm going to go for the 25th of January, and I'm going to set a time of 4:30, and I'm going to set a duration for an hour. And then I'm going to schedule it. Now, as soon as I click on schedule, that will email that person that they've been invited to a scheduled video call, and that will be in their email. You'll receive it in your calendar, they'll receive it in their calendar, and they can basically have within that invite the link that they can just click on to join at the relevant time. So that's the way I tend to use it. It works perfectly well for me. In playing with it, you might discover other ways of scheduling video calls, but certainly setting up video calls, and while you're in that video call, activating the record function by clicking on the little circle. The recording is stored in the cloud. It's up there for 7 days. So you will receive in your email at the end of that call a link telling you that this is where the recording is. You can view it online, or you can start to view it, right click, save as, download it to your system and review it later. Very, very useful. So that is a real quick whistle-stop tour of the basics of the 3CX system. There's one more thing I'm going to talk you through, and that is the dashboard. So if I just put this away for now and then bring it back up for you, if you see there, we've got switchboard. If I click on that, up it comes. Now, again, what you see here will depend on the permissions that you've been given by your manager or director, because I'm obviously administrator of our particular phone system. I get to see everything, but really useful thing. You can see a wallboard, how many calls were abandoned, answered. This is really important if you're missing calls. You kind of want to know that you're missing calls and why you're missing calls. So that's very useful. The wallboard is very useful. Queue manager, I tend to use the queue manager quite a lot. Main call handling, that enables me to log out of a queue so I don't receive calls, or log into a queue, and I can log other people back into the queue as well should I want them to receive calls. So the queue manager is really handy, so that you can see who's available, who's not available, and who is accepting calls. As the manager, similar sort of thing. You just get to see the default list of all of your team members, and you get to see any call groups that may be set up for you. So we have a new main call handling queue. Basically, if the main reception isn't picking up calls, it will then bounce to me. If I then don't pick it up, it will then bounce to somebody else or the other two people that can pick those calls up. So we can create groups of people for you within the phone system, and the phone system can either make them all ring at the same time or all ring one after another, depending on who picks it up or not. As people join your team, we need that instruction to make the system work better for you. So it's really important that whoever's managing the actual business from a communications aspect, you really pay attention to the phone system and who is receiving calls and who's able to be part of queues, hunt groups, or ring all at the same time. So this area needs constant review to make sure that it's working for your business. So hopefully that's really helped. There will be other videos to follow based on various other services that we offer, and I'll hopefully get some feedback from you. Let us know if this has helped you, and we can do further videos moving forwards. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye bye.